Picture this. It's 6 a.m. at JFK. 600 people are crammed into a fluorescent-lit hall, shuffling forward inch by inch, shoes off, belts in a tray, babies crying, laptops out, a customs officer barking at someone 2 rows back because their form isn't filled out right. The line snakes. It doesn't move. Now picture this instead. A Gulfstream G700 rolls to a stop on a private tarmac about 400 meters from that chaos. The engines wind down. A flight attendant brings out a second glass of champagne. The cabin is warm. The seats are Italian leather the color of cream. Outside, a government vehicle pulls up quietly alongside the plane. 2 officials in uniform step out, boarding passes in hand. Except they don't need boarding passes. They already know who's on this plane. They climb the air stairs. They come to you. This isn't a movie. This is Tuesday morning for a certain kind of traveler. And once you understand how it works, you'll never look at an airport queue the same way again. How the system actually works. Most people assume customs is a place, a room you go through, a line you stand in, a booth with a board officer who stamps your passport without making eye contact. For 99% of the world, that's exactly right. But customs is not technically a location. It is a process. And a process, if you have enough money and the right approvals, can come to you. Here's the mechanics. When a private jet files its flight plan, that documentation goes to Customs and Border Protection in the United States, or its equivalent agency in whatever country is being entered. The jet's tail number, the passenger manifest, the origin airport, all of it is transmitted hours before wheels touch down. By the time the plane lands, the government already knows who is on board. For commercial passengers, the processing happens in the terminal because that is the only practical way to handle hundreds of people at once. For private aviation, a different protocol exists. CBP officers can, and regularly do, conduct their inspection right at the aircraft. The plane is treated as its own point of entry. The officer arrives. Passports are presented. Declarations are reviewed. Biometrics, if required. A stamp. Then the officer thanks you, descends the stairs, and drives away. Total time? Under 15 minutes. Sometimes 5. The world they move through. To understand why this matters, you have to understand the rhythm of ultra-wealthy life. These are not people who take 2 vacations a year. They move constantly, Monaco to Greenland, Dubai to Geneva, the Maldives to New York, sometimes within the same week. A Dutch yacht owner like the ones you see in Greenland expedition circles will cross international borders more times in a month than most families do in a decade. Time, for them, is not the same resource it is for the rest of us. It is the scarcest thing they own. A billionaire hedge fund manager once said something that stuck. Private aviation is not about luxury. It is about buying back hours. The jet is the tool. The private customs clearance is the logical extension of the same idea. At the very top of the wealth pyramid, even the paperwork is handled before you land. Dedicated handlers called FBOs, fixed base operators, coordinate with customs authorities on behalf of their clients. Documents are pre-cleared. Fees are paid. The runway is cleared. By the time the Rolls-Royce pulls up to collect you, government processing is already complete. You don't experience customs as an event. You barely experience it as a moment. Before we go further, if you want to understand how the ultra-wealthy have quietly built a parallel version of the world, one with no lines, no waiting rooms, no crowds, no inconvenience of any kind, hit subscribe. Every week we pull back the curtain on the systems, the structures, and the money that make it all work. You won't find this stuff in a brochure. The facilities they use, the infrastructure of elite private travel is its own invisible universe. Major airports have what are called private jet terminals, officially named FBOs or fixed base operators. These are essentially private airport buildings that sit adjacent to the main terminal but bear no resemblance to it. There are no public announcements, no departure boards, no food court. Instead, there are leather sofas, a concierge who knows your name, a lounge stocked with actual food, a shower room, and if needed, a car waiting inside the building so you never expose yourself to weather between the jet and the vehicle. Customs processing at these facilities is conducted in a private room, sometimes an office inside the FBO itself, sometimes on the aircraft. Either way, The interaction is brief, professional, and fundamentally different in character from the mass processing that happens 2 buildings over. Some private airports don't even share infrastructure with commercial aviation at all. Le Bourget outside Paris, Farnborough in England, Teterboro in New Jersey. These are airports that exist specifically for private aircraft. Landing there means never touching a commercial terminal in any form. Customs comes to the plane, finishes its business, and that is the entirety of the interaction. What money actually buys? This is the part most people misunderstand about extreme wealth. The mega yachts, the penthouse apartments, the grand pianos, and the alligator skin trunks. Those are visible. You can photograph a yacht. You can value a painting. You can point at a private jet and understand, on some level, what it represents. What is much harder to see, and in some ways far more significant, is the structural removal of friction from daily life. The billionaires who move through private customs clearance are not doing it primarily to feel important, though some certainly do. They are doing it because it is part of a seamlessly engineered existence where time is not wasted, where discomfort is not experienced, where the ordinary indignities of modern life, the lines, the delays, the inspections, the waiting, have simply been designed out. Customs is just one tile in that mosaic, but it is a revealing one because it shows how deeply the separation goes. Not just from discomfort, but from the experience of being processed, of being one of many, standing in a system designed for the masses, waiting your turn like everyone else. For the ultra-wealthy, that experience has been eliminated. The numbers behind the privilege. To enter the world of private aviation, you do not necessarily need to be a billionaire, but you must be very close to that level of wealth. Memberships with elite private aviation companies such as NetJets or Wheels Up can start at tens of thousands of dollars per year, while chartering a mid-sized private jet for a transatlantic flight may cost around $60,000 to $100,000. Owning a large private aircraft is even more expensive, with purchase prices beginning near $50 million and annual operating costs reaching $3 to $6 million. At that level, private customs handling fees are almost meaningless. A few $100s, often included within the FBO service package, is nothing compared to the price already paid for the aircraft. The privilege is simply part of the system. The crews operating these jets are also highly paid professionals. Captains on high-end private aircraft can earn 15,000 to 20,000 euros per month, reflecting the responsibility, pressure, and precision required. Ultimately, private customs clearance is not the real luxury. The real luxury is a life where waiting disappears. For most people, systems must be followed. For the ultra-wealthy, systems quietly move around them. If this changed the way you see the world, drop in the comments. And if you want more on how the ultra-wealthy have built a second, parallel society inside the one the rest of us live in, subscribe. We're just getting started.